Hi, welcome to Dasmore Wargaming. In this tutorial I'm going to run through how I do my bases to look like slabs or flagstones. I use this on my Iron Hills army, but can be used in any army, any wargame really. It's really quite simple and effective, and all the stuff should be stuff that you have lying around at home, so anyone should be able to do this. So I'm just going to pop over now and put some examples up for you to have a look at, and then we'll get into the tutorial. Right, so the first thing we're going to need to make these bases and make the slabs or flagstones is a standard egg box. So for this tutorial what we're going to do is I'm just going to cut a little piece out of it, and then I'm going to peel off the paper if there's any paper on the egg box, because this is going to not allow it to stick to the base. So peel that bit off like so. And I cut this out of the egg box using just a hobby knife. Just, it doesn't matter, it's got rough edges, adds to the effect in my opinion. So what we're going to do now is going to cut it up using just a knife and maybe some snips, just cutting some random squares out of it, different sizes. It's always a good idea as well to keep your sizing consistent. Don't increase the size of the flagstones based on the size of the model. Once you've got a size, stick to it. I like to do loads of these, put them in a bag, have them all ready, and do the whole army that way. So yeah, once we've cut them all up, it'll look something like this. So yeah, now we've got all those ready, we'll move on to preparing the base. So we've got our base and we've got our cut up bits of egg box ready. I'm now just going to take some super glue and I'm just going to dab it onto the base, using it quite sparingly and adding it on quite randomly. The more random you can do it, the more natural it will look. Now I'm just going to add some of the cardboard we cut onto the super glue, just doing it very randomly and leaving gaps in between. Offset the gaps in between as well, and don't be afraid to overhang the edge of the base because we'll clean those up later. Also overlap some of the other flagstones near the edges, just keep it random and let it flow, and once you've covered as much of the base as you wanted, you just leave it to dry. So now that the super glue is all dried, we're going to get some hobby snips and we're going to go around the edge of the base, just tidying up all the edges from the overhangs. Use the base as a guide for this, rest your clippers against it, and yeah, just snip it away so nothing is overhanging. With that all trimmed up, we're just going to grab some PVA glue now. I've put mine in a cup. I've added a little bit of water just to make it that little bit thinner to help it get in all these small areas. I've got two brushes, one larger than the other, and they're both old beat up brushes. Don't go using your good brushes for this. So all I'm going to do now is take the big brush, get my PVA and cover all the bits of the base that are still showing, and you can add bits to the stones where they overlap or where they could be damaged near the edges more than not, but yeah, you got full creative license here. Just leave the majority of the stone showing, and you'll be golden. While the PVA glue is still wet, we're just going to give it a dunk into this basing material. So what I'm using here, it's literally just a old container that's full of different basing materials I've collected over the years. So anything from fine sand to small bits of stone and slate, just all mixed in here. So I'm just going to give it a liberal coat and then just tap off the excess, and we'll leave it to dry. So that's the base actually built. What we've got to do now is wait for that PVA to dry properly, and once that's done, we can paint it. So what I'll do now, I'm just going to put a list of all the paints that I've used on the screen. Obviously, paint whatever colour you like. This is how I do it. This is the process I use if you want to follow along. So once the PVA glue is dry, I've just given the whole base a spray of Chaos Black, but you can use any black really. Just make sure you get the spray in all the hard to reach areas. So what we're going to do here is quite simple enough, is take some Skaven Blight Dinge, and we're just going to base coat all of those egg box pieces. Try and be as neat as possible, but if you do make any mistakes, just grab some black out of a pot and touch up those areas. Now with that Skaven Blight Dinge dry, it's once again an easy step really. We're just taking some Nuln Oil and we are just covering all those pieces we've just base coated. So with the Nuln Oil dry, we're going to take some XV88 and we're going to mix it 50-50 with some water, and we're going to apply it to all the areas around the egg box. So that's all our slate and stone parts. Now with the XV88 dry, we're just going to take some Agrax Earthshade and we're just going to shade all those areas we've just done.
Now with that aggro surf shade dry, we're going to take a dry brush and some administratum grey. Make sure most of the paint is removed, and we're just going to dry brush all of the egg box pieces. Now we're just going to take some Baneblade Brown and a dry brush, and we're just going to dry brush all the areas around the egg box. Now we're just going to take some Carrock Stone and a dry brush and repeat the process. Just use a little bit less paint on your brush for this step and be a bit more selective about where you're picking out your highlights. With that step done, we're going to take some Ulthern Grey and our dry brush, and we are going to dry brush all of those egg box pieces. Be more selective about where you're putting your highlights this time, be a bit lighter with the brush, and just take your time with it basically. It's also important to note here that we're using the Ulthern Grey to dry brush the brown areas of the base as well. We're just being a bit more delicate with this, as we only want to highlight it very subtly. Now we're going to go back in and reinforce some of that depth. To do this, we're going to take a small brush and some Basilicanum Grey. We're going to mix this with a bit of water. We want it a bit thinner than normal, more of a wash consistency. And we're going to run it all around those egg box pieces. We're going to put it in the deeper recesses and any of the damage marks that are on there that would have happened from cutting the egg box out and things like that. Now we come to the final step. We're just going to take some Abaddon Black and use the edge of our brush, and we're just going to go around the rim of the base with this. You can of course use any colour you like here. You just use whatever colour it is that fits in with the rest of your army, and you are golden. So there you have it. Quite simple, quite effective, I think. So yeah, here's a couple of other examples that I've done. You can swap all the colours out if you want. You can do greys instead of browns, different shades of brown, whatever you like. Yeah, and here's a goat rider that I did in the same way.
So that's the tutorial. Hopefully you found it interesting or helpful. Like I say, you should be able to make these bases from the stuff that you've got lying around at home. So they're quite cheap and easy and effective. Like I said in the video, all you've got to do is switch out some of the colours to match your basing style in your army, or your preference. Full creative license on it really. This is just the basics to get them looking like this. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help. And until next time, happy hobby all.
Hi, this is Ash from Dasmore Wargaming. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And why not check out the rest of our content? See you next time.